Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper. Today I wanted to make a video just telling you guys about myself a little bit and what actually caused me to become a gun owner and what kind of spurred on some of the prepping and survivalism aspects of my life. I do have a lot of stuff here behind me. It's going to be a new video I'm working on about my bug out bag, which is definitely different than the get home bag you've already seen. The bug out bag is the one that's going to leave the property in case something comes up where we can no longer stay put. So should be a good video, should be nice and in-depth. I'll tell you about all the gear and everything in it. But today I just wanted to kind of chat with you guys and let you understand a little bit about myself as a person and give you some ideas about what caused me to become a gun owner and a proponent of the Second Amendment, while maybe letting you in on some information that some people never have access to, which is much better, trust me, in that aspect. But maybe it's the same reason why they might be against owning firearms or might be against firearms in general. So it was about 2010, and we recently had moved to California, and I lived in a little town called Rancho Cordova, which is like a subsidiary of Sacramento. It's a little bit more rough around the edges than Sacramento, you might say. But we had a nice house there, and we did a little bit of partying. I was in my early 20s, so we had a party there one night. And a lot of people were showing up, and there were some people we may or may not have known very well. But because, of the aspect of the party being somebody's birthday, we had some friends of friends showing up, and so it didn't seem like a big deal. Well, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I decided, hey, it's time for this to be over. We're getting loud. There's people in my backyard still. Our neighbors are probably pretty upset at this point. So let's go ahead and wrap this party down. So I went around and started telling people, hey, guys, let's wrap it up. We're trying to go to bed. It's about time, So I go into my backyard, and there's a big group of people out there. They're all being really loud, and I'm just like, hey, it's time to go. It's 3 in the morning. I appreciate you guys coming by, but, the neighbors are probably getting upset, and I think it's time for everybody to leave. Well, I was approached with the idea that, they would just come inside. It won't be loud for your neighbors anymore. We're just going to come in your house. Well, that doesn't really work for me because it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. I need you guys to leave. That was the communication I was trying to get across there. It was then brought to my attention that in that moment, I was being discriminatory about these people being at my house, apparently. And what I asked was, hey, it's not about anything else other than the fact that it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really know you guys. Does anyone here even know my name? I just asked a simple question saying, if you want to hang out at my house, maybe you should know who I am. And I was told, no, we don't know your name. I said, exactly. So, I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't know you very well, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so it's time to go. Well, about 10 minutes goes by, and somebody comes up to me and says, hey, our friend Bob is outside in the driveway, and those people you asked to leave are basically beating him up. And I'm thinking, oh man, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? So, it's my house, he's my friend, I'm not going to let him just be out in my driveway and, start getting beat up. So I walk out there to find out what's happening. Well, at that moment, I get approached by one of the larger guys in the group, Now, mind you, I'm 6'3", I'm 230 pounds, I've done martial arts for a big portion of my life. I've always been very confident in being able to take care of myself. I haven't had many issues in my life where I wasn't able to handle myself in a scuffle or, deal with somebody who was trying to intimidate me. So I wasn't too afraid of going out there and finding out what was going on. And this, big gentleman came up to me and, I stood my ground because I wasn't too worried about it. So he's in my face, we're arguing, I'm telling him, he's got to go. At that moment, up comes this guy. I want to say, in all honesty, he's probably about 5'4", probably 130 pounds soaking wet, right? A really small guy. He's walking up, and I look over and I happen to notice this guy is loading a 12 gauge shotgun, okay? He is literally putting shells into the mag tube and getting it ready to go. And at that moment, my instincts kind of kicked in and said, hey, we got to de-escalate right now or you're not going to wake up tomorrow. So, I put my hands up and I said, okay, why don't you guys just get out of here? And let's just not let this go any further. Well, that was a great opportunity for the gentleman who's right in front of me to decide to start teeing off on me. So he started punching me in the face, then 3 or 4 other guys jump in and start punching me, kicking me. I keep, falling back into my vehicle in the driveway at the time. Yes, this is in my driveway. And just getting pummeled, and I guess because I kept not being knocked unconscious, they were upset, so they just kept hitting me. And the whole time in my mind, I knew this guy was standing there with a 12 gauge shotgun pointed right at me. So I didn't fight back. I just had to take the beating and, hopefully make it out alive. So luckily enough for me, one of my roommates came out, saw what was going on, grabbed me by the shirt, and just dragged me back in the house. The police showed up very shortly after, thank God. I had some good neighbors who were watching out for us. They were pretty cool about us having a party, but they didn't really like the idea of people getting beat up in the driveway, as well as, people were driving cars up on our yard, and other fights were breaking out, and I mean, it was just insanity, and there wasn't even that many people there. It was just the type of people who were there just were unsavory, you might say. So, that moment, very much changed my aspect on equalization of self-defense and people being able to protect themselves. I never felt that helpless in my entire life. I had this gentleman in front of me. He's a huge guy, and I wasn't worried about it at all. With the amount of martial arts training I've had, and my size being considered as well, I just figured, well, if we get into a fight, we'll see what happens. But once that 12 gauge shotgun came into the equation, I was, worthless, basically. I had no hope to be able to defend myself or, put myself in a position of power or dominance at that point, and I had to literally succumb to whatever they wanted to expose me to. And I've never had that feeling before in my life at that moment, and I've never had that feeling again since. And a lot of that is probably because a week after that happened, I went and bought my first firearm. I really didn't think I needed firearms all that badly at that point in time, and I didn't have the finances really, as a young, 22-year-old guy, and I figured, I'll just buy one day when I feel like it, when I have money or whatever. But I also felt very confident in my martial arts and my size, everything else, so I didn't think it was that necessary, That moment changed my mind about that. I realized that time that if I had a firearm, of course it would have been a terrible situation, and I'm glad that wasn't the case. But at the same time, I probably wouldn't have made any of the same decisions that I made in that moment, because the idea of something escalating to that level wasn't even in my head, Once you are robbed of your ability to defend yourself or to stand your ground, and once you're completely hopeless in a situation because somebody has the upper hand on you to the point where it's life or death, it's a terrible feeling. I never want to feel that way again, and I made that decision that night to never be in that position again. Now, a lot of people that might have gone through a similar event end up having that victim mentality, which is, well, this is why we need to get rid of guns, and if only that guy didn't have a gun, this would have changed the situation, or man, I wish that nobody had guns because, then I would have never had to feel that way. Well, for me it was, if these guys have guns and they're out here and they're, just, ignorant people that want to start problems, well, I'm going to go get one too and make sure that this never happens again. Make sure I'm never on that unlevel playing field ever again, because I never want to be put in a position like that where I feel like these people can do whatever they please to me. For all I know, they could have, kicked me in the head and killed me right there in my driveway until, until something changed. And, luckily my roommate coming out and grabbing me is probably what saved me at that point. I don't know if the guy even planned on shooting me or not, but I saw him loading the shell. So obviously he had some kind of intention, or at least wanted to intimidate me. So, that's really what got me into firearms ownership. I went to the local gun range, talked to some of the clerks there. They actually sold me a 12 gauge shotgun. And at the time in my mind, I figured, well, equalize it, right? Level playing field. They got a 12 gauge. I got a 12 gauge. Now we're good to go, right? Well, it was a great first purchase, to be honest, because 12 gauge shotgun is amazing. So many things you can do with it. I ended up going to learn and do dove hunting and turkey hunting and everything else, which, definitely, uses a 12 gauge quite a bit. And I also eventually then moved into getting some handguns and started going to the range more often, started doing some training. I took some private lessons, and next thing you know, I am hooked. I am a Second Amendment guy. I'm out at the range constantly. I do a lot of shooting. I reload. It's just, it like took over in the sense of passion. And, the sense that it gave me of security is something that as, preppers, I think we all want to have. That's one of the reasons why we prep. All of our preps are a form of security. It's a security against water shortage, a security against starvation, a security against anything that can threaten your survival. And of course, the most obvious form of security is defense, and defending yourself from a situation that you don't want to be in, which obviously most of you understand firearms create that equal opportunity for everybody to be in. I'm glad that event happened to me. I think that it woke me up to a different mindset and a different way of thinking. At that time in my life, I was already doing some preparing, and I already had like a bug out bag and stuff like that, and I was already in that mindset of, wanting to prepare for imminent disaster of some sort, but I didn't have the firearms aspect covered because it just didn't seem as important at the time as making sure I had, survival skills and tools, So, all in all, I just wanted to share that with you guys. If my channel, goes a little bit heavy on the firearms and a little bit heavy on the gun discussion, that's just because it's a big passion of mine. And I really, had a life-changing event that kind of pushed me in that direction, which in a way, I feel if people who were anti-gun or, very against firearms ownership had an event like that happen in their life, they might change their mind, I didn't have any of those inclinations to own firearms until that event happened. And, it changed my life for the better. It made me more prepared. It gave me more security. And my coonhound's going crazy upstairs right now about who knows what, but I apologize for that. So, I just wanted to share that with y'all, give you some insight into, what kind of, spurred Magic Prepper onto the things that I'm onto, right? I hate talking about myself in the third person. I apologize. But, I just think it's nice to kind of know who you're working with. And now the rest of the dogs are getting into it. So, I will have to go up there and take care of that. But, be on the lookout. We've got some great videos coming up. Big boy bug out bags happening. I also been putting together a video of some of the most likely scenarios for us to see in SHTF scenario. And then I also, want some more suggestions from you guys if there's anything you want to see or anything you want some more information about that I've already talked about in the past. Feel free to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. All that stuff really helps the channel. I want to do a shout out to Central Florida Prepper. That guy went ahead and plugged one of my bug out bag videos on his channel, and it's really gotten me some more exposure. I got some more subscribers, got some more great interaction with other people in the community, and I really appreciate that. So him and I are going to be working on a collaboration video pretty soon here. So hopefully you can look forward to that as well. So, without anything else to say, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.